Welcome everyone to another tier list. This time we are going over all the pilots for June 2024 for Code Geass Lost Stories global release. Can't believe 2 months has already gone by, but here we are. And just like my last tier list, I am not going to rank all the pilots one by one. Instead, we're going to look at the previous tier list that I made. I'm going to take the new pilots and rank them where I think they belong, and then I'm going to rearrange things according to how the meta has changed in the last 2 months. Now, the only thing I did change for the tiers is that for the B, I renamed it to good, but not my first choice, because there will be some pilots in this tier that are not really budget substitutes, but they're not my first choice, even though they are good pilots. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's get started now by ranking the new pilots that we got in the last 2 months. So first we have is Cecile Croomy. This is the one that comes with the Sutherland heir. I was about to say Lancelot heir, but that's incorrect. So I'm going to put her in the A tier. And I'm going to put her where in the A tier is a little difficult to determine. I'm thinking maybe in the middle top, I guess, because this Cecile is really good. Not only does she have a fast redeployment time, increases her Nightmare Frame skill gauge to basically 100%. Well, it is 100% if using the Sutherland heir, but otherwise, I think it's like 75%, which is really good. She also has really high attack power, and she reduces the redeployment time of all your other pilots waiting to be redeployed by a significant amount. So a lot of great utility with the character. My only issue with Cecile here is that I wish her attack power was higher. Other than that, she's a really good pilot. Moving on, we have is C2. This is the defensive one with that really awesome crotch shot. I'm going to put her in the S tier, and I'm going to put her, this is very difficult to determine, but I think, yeah, that's about right. She's one of the best pilots in the game. High health, high defense, increases her health through 2 means, combos really well with the Guren, which it comes with, so obviously one of the best pilots in the game. Arguably the best defensive pilot in the game, and that's why she belongs in the S tier. Next we have is Fancy Lelouch. I'm going to put him in the, I guess B tier. You know, good, but not my first choice. Probably high B tier, because he has pretty good stats and his abilities are not awful. I guess the buffs for like female pilots is okay and all, but it's just not my, it's not my thing. Maybe you like this pilot, but I'm just not a fan. Moving on, we have is Suzaku, also from the same banner, and I'm going to put him in the okay. A high okay. Yeah, he's a healer and he heals other healers, which is a really strange concept. He doesn't have terrible stats, but just like the Lelouch, I don't know. These are just pilots that I would never really want to use. If I had them, I skipped this banner, well, twice now, and I would skip it again. I just don't think this character is that great. Okay, I think is being a little generous, but I'm just not a fan. Next we have is Rivalz from the same event. Gonna put him in the niche use only. The only time you're ever going to use this pilot is in the Ashford faction challenges, and you're going to regret that immediately because his attack power, both range and melee, is not that good. Yeah, he can boost it if you got a bunch of male Ashford pilots, which is so specific, very hard to pull off. I had a lot of high hopes when this character first came out, but no, he's not that great. He's basically trash, but in the Ashford faction challenges, he's pretty good. Only because you don't have a lot of options right now. When you do, though, you won't use him ever again. Also, it's really strange how his effect is with the male pilots, but Suzaku and Lelouch target the female pilots. It's a lot of contradictions there. Anyways, he's in near garbage here, but I'll say F tier for now. Next we have is C2. This is the pizza one. Definitely going to put her in A tier. Probably, this is difficult. I think this is fine, high A tier, because she's got really good stats, combos really well with the Guren, so if you have that, use her with it. She lowers the deployment cost of the MC and increases their action speed. There's only 2 in the game right now, but as more come out, this pilot gets even better. Really good stats, and also increases your cost every time she takes damage, while also dealing damage back to enemies in range. So a lot of good utility, a really great pilot, and I think A tier is definitely appropriate, especially if you need a cost increaser for the Black Knight faction. Next we have is Angry Suzaku, who's going to go in garbage tier. Nah, I'm just kidding. He's S, man. You already know. Angry Suzaku is definitely S tier. He's not better than Halloween Lelouch, but he's damn near close. You guys already know why this pilot is broken. Insane attack power for both melee and range. Deals damage when health gets, below 25%. Puts a barrier up. It's so broken in the Guren. I mean, this pilot is just ridiculous, man. Also, also increases, I believe, number like skill targets for your Nightmare Frame skill. Man, Angry Suzaku is just so OP as hell, and if you're using him in the Nightmare Frame boss battle event, you already know why, so definitely S tier. One of the best pilots in the game. Next we have is Marrybell. This is from that next event we got with the special agents and Oz and all that great stuff. Gonna put her in the A tier, high A tier maybe. I'll put her above Cecile, but I don't like it. The thing about this Marrybell is that her ability is really good. She boosts the Britannian faction on deployment. If you destroy enemy Nightmare Frame, her skill gauge fills up, which is great. She deals damage on deployment, so theoretically you can place her and hit, I believe, 4 Nightmare Frame enemies. Then her skill gauge goes 100%, and you can spam the Nightmare Frame skill and then, rinse and repeat. In the Gwen, she's really broken, and Nightmare Frame's like that. The reason why I'm putting her in A tier though, and maybe a little too high, is because normally you don't need this pilot, and she can only be really abused with certain Nightmare Frames. So if you don't have those, you can't really go full ham with her. She is extremely squishy. She can't boost her own speed, which is unfortunate. So as much as I like this pilot, I don't think she's good for most situations. Which, you know what, I'm actually going to move her a little lower. This is going to piss off people, but I'll put her below the Giga Chad. Because I think the Giga Chad is more useful if you need a really powerful attacker. Marrybell is only useful for situations where you're being spammed by lots of enemies and you need someone to just clean house for you. In cases like that, Marrybell is definitely the queen, but in most cases, that's not how things are. That was a confusing sentence. Hopefully that made sense. Moving on, we have is Euphy. Gonna put her in trash. This pilot is god awful. Yeah, you can decloak. So what? You can't choose when you stuns every, fifth attack. Very inconsistent. She's really squishy, even though she cloaks herself. Doesn't help, to be honest. Her attack stats are god awful considering she's supposed to be an anti-cloaking unit. I mean, what were they thinking with this pilot? I'm only putting her in high trash tier because she's not the worst of the worst, but she's still really bad. What were they thinking? Next we have a Suzaku from that same event. Gonna put him in the B tier, but I'd say high B tier. A pilot that cloaks himself and significantly lowers his own deployment cost, which means he goes really well with the Lancelot, Mordred, or really any other pilot in the game. So really good pilot, and again, a healer that cloaks himself. You can't ask for any more than that. Moving on, we have is the new Cornelia, which we're getting right now, if you're watching this, I guess, when this comes out. And I'm gonna put her in the A tier, probably high A tier. I'd say better than Suzaku. That's a difficult one. I'll say right below Suzaku. Cornelia is really good because she reduces the cost to deploy the next pilot by 100%. So theoretically, it becomes 0. I think I said it right. She also has really good stats. She boosts her Nightmare Frame skill gauge, and she also increases her simultaneous attacks. So really good stuff all around, but she's not the best cost increaser in the game because she doesn't actually increase your cost. She only reduces the cost. So in some cases, that's really good. In some cases, it's not. I think 90% of the time, it's not better than using a cost increaser. But in those situations where you do need someone like Cornelia, she's really powerful, and there's no substitute for her because she's the only pilot in the game that does this. And last, and certainly not least, is the MC. The pilot we were supposed to get during the first year anniversary that we got like 3 months earlier. What the hell's going on with Como Games? I have no idea. Anyways, gonna put the MC, this is the Britannian one, in the A tier, and I would say top A tier. And here is why. High attack power for a defensive pilot, further reduces damage against Black Knights, but also does normal reduction against normal enemies and increases the rate of the skill gauge filling up during the battle, so you can deal a lot of damage very quickly. Really broken in the Arondite, which the Nightmare Frame pilot comes with. Well, you don't summon the pilot, but they came together as an award. That's not even true. You got the pilot and the Nightmare Frame separately. You know what I'm saying. The point is, a really great pilot, really great stats, will only get better over time, and was also free, and I respect that. Really good for the free-to-play players like myself. Okay, so now that we've ranked all the new pilots, let's start rearranging this tier list to take into account the new changes. One thing I'm very excited to do is to move C2, 0C2, into the A tier. Welcome to the peasants, because unfortunately, with the new defensive C2 in the game, this one is just not as good anymore. In fact, I'd argue C2 hasn't been good in a long time, but I've been very kind to her, keeping her this high in the tier list. I'm going to put her probably I'll put her above Bismarck. I think it's being very generous though. So that's one change I want to make. Anya also is going into the A tier. I just don't think she's that good anymore. The decloaking is great, but there's so many powerful range attackers, specifically pilots like Suzaku, so I can't justify these two being together in the same tier. I'll put her above Bismarck, though, in fairness. I think, well, Millie's a little high here. I'm gonna... Not that kind of high. I'm going to put her probably a little lower. C2 has gotten a lot better because of the Gawain. I don't know why I didn't have her higher than before. Maybe I said Nat 1, she belongs to A tier because of the Gawain, but she's really good in that Nightmare frame, so she should be a little higher up. Let's see. Santa Kallen and Cornelia, yeah, I think they're fine. Xingke is way too high in this list. Going to put him in low B tier. He's not that great. His stats are fantastic, but his abilities are so counterproductive. So yeah, I'm sorry, he doesn't belong in A tier. I guess I'll put him in mid B tier is acceptable. Shirley's the same. In fact, all the Shirleys I don't think belong in A tier anymore. So they're all going into B tier, but I'll place them high. So I'll say these two are really good. I'll put her above Suzaku. That's fine. Villetta hasn't gotten much better, or I should say Chigusa hasn't gotten much better, so I don't think she needs to go higher. C2 can't abuse the Gwen yet, so she's going to go into the B tier. I'll put her above Suzaku, though. She's not terrible, but I think there's just too many powerful attackers now, and I can't justify putting her in the A tier. Anyways, I think she belongs in B tier. Pretty mid-high B tier, but still B tier. Nunnally should go a little higher. I think she's one of the better healers in the game. Is she better than Millie, though? I don't think so. You know what? Let's do this. Let's put Cecile here, and then we'll have these two over there. Okay, that's good. Jeremiah is fine where he's at, I think. Maybe I can put him a little higher. I mean, he does have really powerful abilities, so I'll put him a little higher. Rakshata can go a little lower. Same with Diethard. They're really good, but look at the competition, right? Kalln, I think she can go above. Yeah, she should go a little higher because they really buffed her, and I've underestimated her ability since then. Tohdoh, yeah, with the MC in the game, I think Tohdoh has to go into B tier, but I'll put him in high B tier. It's just that the MC is just really good, and now it's like the premier defensive pilot that's also free to acquire, so I have to consider that into account, or take that into account. Nagisa can go a little lower. She's kind of squishy, and it's been pissing me off lately, so I'll put her a little lower in A tier. Still really good for the Black Knight faction. Villetta better than Anya. No, I don't think so. So I'm going to put, well, yeah, I'm going to put Villetta over here instead. I don't think she's better than Anya. She does have similar attack power, but Anya has way better abilities, although her interval attack is kind of slower, so I guess it depends how you look at it. Still, though, I think this is pretty good. Anything else I would change here? Let's go to S tier for a second. I might have to rearrange certain things. Okay, yeah, so Sayoko should be way higher because she's really good. Euphy, oh, sorry, this Euphy. Gonna put her, yeah, over here because of Suzaku, and also because she's a really good pilot. Might be controversial, but I think that's fair. Lelouch has kind of been dropping in stock lately. I'm gonna put him probably here a little lower. Euphy also kind of dropping in stock a little bit. Rakshata is still really good. I wouldn't change, oh, actually, I'll put Suzaku a little lower as well. Still S tier, but lower. MC's been really clutch lately, so definitely belongs S tier. In fact, I'll put her, or well, the MC above Lelouch or Zero Lelouch. Gino I still really like, but I don't think he's better than C2 right now. Kalln is still fantastic, both of them, to be honest. So I think the rest of the S tier is pretty solid. Cornelia is still the best attacker, still stable in every single team. Same with Kallen to some extent, so they still belong in the S tier. Okay, for the B tier, I think everything here looks good. I'd probably put Guilford maybe a little higher, so like here. Suzaku has gone a little lower. Honestly, I'm considering putting him into niche use only because I only use him in the Nightmare frame, not Nightmare frame, the Ashford faction challenges. I mean, we have Tohdoh, we have the MC, so do you really need to use him anymore for a defensive pilot? I guess if you're really desperate, I suppose, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really think he's that good anymore, so I'll put him low B tier, but being very generous. Kallen's going into the OK. We got too many good healers now, especially Suzaku. They are not even the same, so she needs to be lower than him, which is kind of funny if you think about it from like the show perspective. But I'll put her like below Tianzi, that's fine. People complained that I made him too low, but I don't care. He's still a B tier pilot. He's a good B tier pilot, no doubt, but he's not gonna go beyond that. I guess to appease some people, I'll put him right below Butler Lelouch and above Xingke. That's kind of really weird, but you know what? Let's be funny here. I'll put Villetta above Xingke as well. I just can't stand this pilot. Senba's still fine. I don't think I would change him in his location, rather. Monica, fine. Kallen above Bradley. Bradley's becoming worse and worse as these months go on. In fact, I'm going to put him even lower. Kallen's fine, even though she's kind of squishy, but she still performs her role well. Guilford's fine. Kalln here is very niche, to be honest. I only use her for Nightmare Frame boss battle events. I don't use her for the Lelouch cost decrease often. The cost decrease? Deployment costing decrease. Sorry, I don't know why I said it weird like that. Anyways, I don't use her for that because I can just use Rakshata and she helps everyone else collectively. So Collins' advantage there is just not that great. So unfortunately, I kind of have to move her to the Nightmare Frame boss battle event. I'll put her probably above Schneisel because she's a generic attack increase buff to anyone as opposed to Schneisel, which is Britannian. So unfortunately, Kalln has to go down a peg. That kind of sucks. Guilford, yeah, he's fine. Rivalz is, I'm not a fan, but if you need a defensive pilot, I guess you can use him if you don't have anyone else, unfortunately. So he goes there. Dalton is, unfortunately, he's really only good for niche use only. I know that he's got decent abilities, but yeah, I'm putting him in high niche use only. He's really just for faction challenges and if you have to stop cloak enemies. Otherwise, I can't justify using him ever. Yeah, he's got good stats. Yes, he reduces his own deployment cost, but are you really using him over other pilots in the game? The answer is no, you're not. It's just for those niche specific situations. So unfortunately, while I like Dalton's character, the pilot is just not good enough. Also, the art is really cute. Moving on with the more adjustments to the B tier, I think the rest of this is fine. You could argue maybe Villetta over Butler Lelouch, but it's Lelouch, so you have more tools, Nightmare Frames to boost in level 5. Villetta, it's just a Sutherland, and will be that way probably forever, so that's why he's above her despite having less attack power. For the C tier, actually before that, Cecile Croomy is going into the garbage tier. Unfortunately, I'll put her in like the high garbage. But she goes in the garbage tier because this Cecile, where is she? Yeah, she outranks her now because she does the same thing that she does, but only better. The ability or the buff she gives you, not this one, but her, when you deploy her, is not good enough anymore to justify being in the OK tier. By the way, while we're here, I think I should put Cecile Croomy into the B tier. I'll put her like high B tier because I have C2 and I have Suzaku and Cornelia. And as much as I love Cecile Croomy, as you guys know, she's not better than those pilots. She does not belong in their league. You can maybe argue that Kallen and Cornelia should be a little higher up there, but at this point, I'm not going to do that. Oh, I forgot to mention that C2 is also a really good cost increaser. So again, Cecile doesn't belong in this category anymore. She was really good for her time, but there's just better pilots in the game. While I'm looking at A tier, maybe I want to rearrange this again because I think there's some things I'm not happy with. Specifically C2, she is a barrier and that's great. She gives people barriers. Is she worse than that C2? I'm going to say yeah. In fact, I'm going to put her probably here. No, I'll say above Jeremiah. The barriers are useful, but you don't need them in most cases. Yeah, that's fine, because she's not better than these pilots, right? If they're going down, she should go down as well. It's kind of weird to not do it that way. Actually, now I think about it, I think she's even worse than these cost increasers. In fact, if you told me would I rather use Kalln or Cornelia or C2, I'd pick Kalln and Cornelia any day of the week. So C2 kind of got lowered significantly here, but it's only fair to be honest. Okay, so back to the C tier, since that's what I was doing before. I wouldn't change a whole lot. I think Lelouch can go a little higher now because of the Gwaine. Same with the other Lelouch here. Jeremiah hasn't gone a lot better. Tamaki has gone worse. Uribe has gone to garbage because unfortunately there's just so many better attackers in the game that are budget and even non-budget that just blow them out of the water. I even think maybe putting Kallen into the OK category is probably a good idea. So if she's in the OK category, Uribe can't be there anymore. So that works. I'll move Nada up a little bit. I think she's better than I've thought of her in the past. Kalln should be even lower. I don't know, man. Claudio is going to niche use only. I'll put him in I guess here. He's only for Britannian factions. Otherwise, you should never use him as a healer when you have Shirley and you have Millie, which are budget options. And now Suzaku. Yeah, you're never using him except for niche use only situations. So, sorry, Claudio. You kind of suck. Dalton, I guess I'll keep him where he's at. Naomi kind of went down the crapper too, but I'll still keep her in C tier. Tamaki's fine. Lloyd's actually better now. I'm going to put him in the B tier, but low B tier because of Suzaku. So you have that nice entry there. So he should be a little higher now because of that. He reduces the cost of everyone in the special corps. He also reduces the cost of the MC as well. So he's actually much better now than he was, say, 2 months ago. So B tier is definitely appropriate. He's almost like Rakshata, but a little worse because Rakshata decreases the deployment cost of all Black Knights, and Lloyd only does a small subsect. But again, we have Angry Suzaku, we have MC, and we have Cecile Croomy, who are all part of that faction, so Lloyd got a lot better, in all fairness. Other characters in the C tier, I'm considering moving. Nina can go a little lower, but that's about it for that. Okay, then we have Arena Mode, and people tell me that Jeremiah is actually good beyond Arena Mode, and I'm definitely going to agree on that. He's a pseudo sub-healer who deals damage on deployment. So I'm going to put him actually in the okay, and I'll say a C tier, okay, you know, kind of high C tier, I guess. Yeah, it will be high C tier. For Arena Mode, now I don't have anyone in here, which is really weird, but I just don't. I'm not sure if any pilot specifically is only good in Arena Mode. Looking through, I guess you could argue Suzaku. These two Suzakus are probably going to end up in this tier maybe in 2 months from now, because right now they're okay, but they're best used in Arena Mode, I feel like. Until then, though, they're in the S tier. Marrybell will also end up in D tier down the road, but right now she is not. So D tier seems empty, which is really weird, but that's how that works out. For the Nightmare Frame boss battle event, since I just went through it, I think this is pretty solid. Clovis is really useful because increasing speed of everyone deployed helps a lot. Schneisel is pretty good too. So is Kallen, of course, Millie. This is good for if you're going for the Suzaku destruction or use, I guess. Zhao's not that good. I stopped using her, so I'm not sure why I put her that high. Same with Shirley. I think Lois then should come next, and then Dorothea, and then of course Diethard. So that's pretty good. Then for niche use only, I wouldn't change that at all. Unfortunately, a lot of good pilots supposedly ended up here, but that's how the cookie crumbles. For the garbage tier, yeah, I wouldn't change anything here. This is very good. Unfortunately, some of these pilots in here were once really good, but again, look at the competition. I can't justify putting these pilots any higher than that. In the case of something like Euphy, it's just bad character design, unfortunately. So that's the change I'm going to make. Let me zoom out real quick so you can see the whole thing. So there you have it. That is my tier list for all the pilots in Code Geass Lost Stories global version for June 2024. Let me know your thoughts of this tier list in the comment section below. And as I just said before, we just got a brand new Cornelia, and we're getting her Gloucester as an award for the Nightmare Frame boss battle event. And if you want to learn more about that, then check out this video right here.